Alright guys, so I had another go at this month's Illusory Tower and came up with some of the most free-to-play friendly strategy that I can think of. So I'm just going to go through all of them now today in this video. No, I didn't use Domain Gojo or Sukuna for any of those floors, and I didn't have to use Zone Yuji or Team Gojo as a DPS for the yellow floors either, just so to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. But I did have to use some limited character, mainly for floor 1 and for floor 5. So unfortunately, there is a bit of a hurdle in that one. But for floor 2, 3, and 4, they should be very free to play, accessible. Okay, let's start off with floor 1, which actually surprised me. As even though it's the first floor, it's actually quite tricky, mainly because this enemy boss, he has the ability to basically alternate between melee damage taken and also range damage taken, but also at the same time apply physical technique decrease and also curse technique decrease. And it just so happened the combination is doing it, it actually alternate perfectly, in the sense that if you actually want to do full amount of damage, you either need to do a ranged melee attack or a physical curse technique attack. And those two combinations are actually incredibly rare, which actually makes this stage quite difficult if you do not have Domain Gojo to apply that massive debuff. So the solution that I meant to come up with at the end is basically using Toji, because Toji is pretty much the only character who can actually do full damage, only rare DPS that can be doing full damage with any kind of debuff, because basically he has a physical attack, but it's also range at the same time. So that basically means on all of the even turns, you're able to hit for the maximum amount of damage with his ultimate attack, and that's basically what I've done here. Now my Toji is at 2 dupe, however what you can see is that his ultimate skill is only at level 8, so if your Toji is not 2 dupe, only at 0 dupe, you can probably get away with max level skill instead. I do have his potential unlocked as well, some of the damage boost one, so you may need that as well. And the other thing you can also try for is that I didn't actually land a crit in my gameplay, but if you do actually happen to land a crit on your ultimate attack, that will make your life a lot easier as well. Now this strategy does have a few RNG checkpoints because the enemy do hit very hard. So if they keep on targeting the same character on your team all the time, then it's likely they will die. So unfortunately, there's a bit of RNG there. There's also another tiny bit of RNG, which is not mandatory, but it definitely help a lot, which is on turn 3, you want Toge to actually land a stun on the enemy on the left-hand side, so on this wild ball looking enemy. And the reason why is that on turn 3 he's actually going to do an AoE attack which have the potential to stun your team, and that could make it very tricky because on turn 4 you actually want to nuke with all of the characters available. So basically if you actually happen to land a stun on your Toge on turn 3, then that can allow you to skip through that stun check mark. In my gameplay that you'll see later on, I didn't actually land that stun and my Toga actually died, but it was actually okay because it just so happens that none of my teammates were stunned at the same time. So as a result, I was still able to get past it, but there's definitely that tiny bit of RNG check, okay? And as for the rest of the strategy, it's quite straightforward. Basically, Toge double skill 2 for the first 2 turns. Also have Unity activated. That will basically allow everyone to charge out their ult on turn 4, and that's when you would then do your combo nuke. Now the idea is that ideally you want to kill off at least one of them, or at least break one of them, or hopefully both of them. If you actually happen to land a crit on both, you might be able to kill them off straight off. For me, I didn't land a crit, but it was still okay, and I just kind of had to store it out a bit more with my enemy's damage reduction afterwards, and then go for a second ult from my Toji. So that's kind of the main thing for stage 1. Now for stage 2 is pretty straightforward. Basically you just use your Hollow Purple Gojo to actually nuke it. So as you can see for this one, there's no limited character at all. My Hollow Purple Gojo actually lacked a tiny bit of damage, so if you actually watch my gameplay, you'll see that I had to actually finish off the enemy with the ultimate attack from my Yaga, Nanami, and also Momo. So there's that tiny bit of damage that I'm lacking. So you could just go for and reset for a crit instead if you don't want to, try to store it out with the ultimate attack from your supporters towards end. You just reset for crit. So it should be fun, right? This is a pretty simple strat. The idea is that you just keep on buffing, and then Toge with this taunt regression will make sure he actually dies, and then basically Momo comes in, buff for 2 turns, you don't have stack up the maximum buff. If you do have debuffers such as Gakuganji or Geto, etc., you will be even easier, and then you probably don't even need that crit on your ultimate attack. So yeah, so this is basically the strat for floor 2, which is quite straightforward. Floor 3, this is a bit of an annoying one, but you can actually stall the team out. There is a bit of RNG in terms of whether you happen to be able to land all of your attacks. Basically, the main idea is that you will be wiping out the enemy with the double domain from your Mahito and also your Megumi. And the idea here is that even though they are actually let me just quickly get out the bosses just to show you. So even though there are 2 bosses, the main thing here is that the one on the right have a massive buff, damage cut buff, when he's above 50% HP, and then that changes into a damage dealt buff after 50% HP. So what you actually want to do is you actually want to focus the one on the left first, and basically as soon as you kill off this one, what happens is that the one on the right, hopefully by then, still is above 50% HP, and therefore he won't actually be doing too much damage for you, and that's kind of why you can save him for later. So the idea is that you definitely want to use all of your domain attacks on the enemy on the left first. And when you're doing that, basically the idea is that you actually want to store it out a tiny bit, and the way you're going to do it is basically using skill 1 from Junpei, which is able to reduce curse technique, and you want to use Junpei on the enemy on the left again, because Junpei is actually a yellow character and therefore does do with extra damage. And then the other one you can go for is going to be Red Panda. Once again, spamming skill 1, which actually reduces damage out, and then you focus Red Panda on the enemy on the right. Now, depending on how strong are your characters, so you can see my characters, I do have their skill 1 pretty highly leveled up, but the characters themselves are not that highly leveled up, especially my Red Panda. It's only grade 10 and only level 100, so he actually died fairly early on, but that was okay because I was eventually able to get past there just with Junpei's damage reduction. And then I also had Yaga come in with another healing reflection just to help out and just better beat the stage a bit quicker. But if your Red Panda is actually strong enough, you can probably tank through the entire battle and just store it out completely. And the idea, once again, is that before you kill off one of the enemy boss, you will be spreading out the 2 attacks, the 2 damage debuff from Junpei and Red Panda, so they basically cover 1 person each. However, after you kill off the one on the left, the one on the right is likely then going to dip into under 50% HP, in which case he would then get a massive damage dealt increase instead. But at that point, because you have already killed off the enemy on the left, you can then focus both of the debuff on the same enemy boss on the right. And as a result, that's basically how you can survive kind of the second phase of this battle. And when you're doing that, obviously just slowly charge up the domain and just wipe out the enemy HP one by one. In terms of your backup option, like I said, I went for Yaga just to make the battle a bit quicker. And Yaga is actually doable here, mainly because after you kill off the enemy on the left, which is basically the one to have this ability to weaken buff, all of your buff are then going to actually work fine. That's kind of why for the second half of the battle, you can actually bring a buffer in the backup slot. But in the first half, you have to make sure you only predominantly use debuff skill. And that's kind of why I have Junpei and also Red Panda instead. The other thing you can also do is that if you happen to have Team Gojo, obviously it's going to be even better. Where's my Team Gojo? If you actually have Team Gojo, it's going to be even better because rather than spamming Red Panda skill 1, what you can do instead is actually spamming Team Gojo skill 2, which first of all does even more damage dealt decrease, and then the second of all, because he is actually a yellow character and also DPS, you can also chip down the enemy a lot quicker. So you can also do that variation if you do have Team Gojo instead. Okay, so this is the strat for floor 3. For floor 4, this is a very straightforward one. Basically, you just double stack pride, double stack all of your buff, and then just nuke it out. The idea here is that you will be taunting off the enemy attacks with Mahito's first 2 turns evasion by using the taunt regression, and then on turn 3 and turn 4, you then want to taunt him with Kaito instead, and that basically makes sure Kaito actually dies on turn 4, allowing your Momo to sub into buff for turn 5 and turn 6. And when you are doing all of this, what you want to make sure is that Kaito actually want to activate his ultimate attack on turn 4 as well, just before he dies, because his ultimate actually lasts for 3 turns. And when you're doing that, basically that means when you actually nuke on turn 6, when you have the double stack pride, basically you will still be benefiting from your Kaito's ultimate attack as well. So that basically allows your Gojo to nuke with double stack pride, double stack of his own skill 3, max stack of buff from Momo, max stack of buff from Yaga, as well as the ultimate attack from Kaito, and that's how you can do so much damage. And the same with Mahito is that you want to make sure he only uses domain expansion on turn 5. You definitely don't want to use it before that because you want to make sure Kaito actually dies on turn 4. So that's kind of why even if you have charged up your ult by turn 5 on turn 4, you don't actually want to activate it, you only want to activate on turn 5. And the reason why you want to activate it one turn before Gojo nukes is because the enemy have that gimmick where unless he's broken, otherwise he's going to take reduced damage. So that's pretty much the idea behind floor 4. Okay, now for the last one, which is floor 5, this one I had to use a limited character again, which is going to be Ghetto. And Ghetto is great for this floor, mainly because he's able to weaken the enemy's physical damage, as well as make your curse technique hit a lot harder, which is perfect for this stage because the enemy only does physical attacks, and also you are trying to nuke it with normally with a curse technique user such as Gojo or Nobara. Now, one of my viewers actually already came up with a similar solution with Gojo. I will share his video link in the description below. And also on that note, I will share another link where someone did actually meant to beat it with Sukuna. I originally thought it was not possible, but obviously with the help of Ghetto, this floor actually becomes super easy, and he meant to deal with Sukuna instead of yellow DPS as well. So I'll link both of the video in the description below. So if you do only have Sukuna or Gojo, you can actually refer to those videos instead. And instead, what I'm going to show is a clear with Nobara as the DPS. Now, like I said, kind of Blue Ghetto just makes the stage super easy and you won't be taking too much damage, so you don't really have to worry about survivability point of view. And then in terms of damage point of view, basic enemy have 2 HP bar. What you want to do is basically combo ult the first time round, and you want to make sure you actually break the enemy. And the reason why you want to break the enemy with your combo ult is just so that the enemy doesn't release his domain expansion too quickly, because if he actually releases domain expansion too early on, what's going to end up happening is that your curse energy regeneration is going to be staggered quite a lot, and then it can be a problem in the second phase of the battle. So that's kind of why you really want to break the enemy. I brought on this recollection, which I actually activated at run timing. So if you actually watch my gameplay, you will see a bit of a misplay in the sense that I activated on the same turn when I wanted to nuke with my Nobara. However, because I was comboing up with my Kaito, my Nobara moved in front of my Ghetto in terms of the attacking order. So theoretically, I should have actually activated this reflection one turn before Nobara. So there was a bit of misplay, but basically the main idea is just do whatever you can to make sure you can actually break the enemy's first HP bar when you do the combo ult. If you really have to, then you can reset for a crit as well, just to make sure that you are able to do that even with a lower level of Nobara. And also on the note of Nobara, what you can see here is that I do have her ultimate skill at level 10, and some of her potential were unlocked as well. I didn't actually unlock the 2 main nodes in terms of 2 new passive effects. All I have unlocked was just kind of the raw stats. So basically you can do that as well, right? You don't actually need to unlock additional skill, just the raw stats is already kind of helpful. And you don't even need to unlock it if you are actually resetting for a crit as well. So basically just depending on how strong is your Nobara, you may need to have that extra bit of help from your potential or not. So that's kind of the first thing. So you kind of want to break the enemy's first HP bar to delay his domain expansion. Afterwards, just slowly wear down the enemy. And then that buys you a bit of a time for your Nobara to charge up her ult again for the second time round when the enemy enter his second HP bar. Now, at that point, it doesn't really matter too much, even if you are not able to break the enemy straight away, because you will see later on. I think it took me 3 ultimate attack from my Nobara to actually kill off the enemy. Even though it's going to take you longer, because you are literally like hardly taking any damage when you are using Blue Ghetto's skill 2, you don't really care how long the battle is going to take anyway. So that's kind of why I was still able to do it with my, going all the way up to my third ult from the bar. And it's pretty much just a straightforward process like that. Now, if some one of your teammate actually do die very early on, what you can also put at the back is basically Mojito with his domain expansion to knock off that constant 15% of HP from the enemy, just to help you for the very last bit of the battle. But I didn't actually need to use Mojito in my run.
年代か
最善の
片付けます。
勘弁
どうする？
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。終わりだな。
相手
手早く。
鮭
さて、
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。終わりだな。片付け。
鮭
任せろ。
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。天の注ぎです。
では始めましょう。
さて、準備はいい。
さて、行きますよ。
参りましょう。
任せろ。
あまり使いたくはないのですがね。
行くぞ、総力戦だ。これで払い切る。
対象の7対3の点を逆転にする。私からは以上です。
行くぞ、今です。すべて問題なし。殺す。最善の一手。
手早く済ませましょ
参りましょう。
う。どうする？
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。
天の定め。最後まで気は抜く。相手の隙を
片付け。
そろそろ
どうする？
授業を始めよう。
決まっていきましょう。
領域転換大公開。
相手の
片付けます。
参りましょ
さて、
授業を始めよう。
決まっていきましょ
う。
う。
あまり使いたくはないのですが。
一度引かなければ。
最善の一手を常に考え。
任せろ。
あまり使いたくはないのですが。
すべて問題なし。
見事です。
殺す。相手の隙。
参りましょ
さて、
う。ああ、美しい。
終わりだな。
相手の隙を見逃すな。
参りまし
さて、終わりだな。
さて、準備はいいか？
ょう。
どうする？
行くぞ、総力戦だ。これで払い切る。最善の一手。
参りましょう。
どうする？
では、教育の時間だ。
任せろ。
参りましょ
任せろ。
では、教育の時間だ。
う。美しい。
すべて問題なし。殺す。はい、おそれ。
解散必要ですね。
最善の一手を常に
片付けます。
鮭
やっちゃっていいの？
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。
少し痛いか
これは
手加減はしてあげるよ。
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。
まずはお前
可愛くないやつばっかりね。
これは
舐められるのは
やっちゃっていいの？
授業を始めよう。
決まっていきましょう。
なるほど、そういうことね。
その程度？
これは
変な感じ。
それじゃおしまいにしようか。
では、教育の時間だ。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。
なるほど、そういうことね。
挙式紫
あなたなら当然でしょ
そろそろだな。
相手の隙を見逃すな。
さて、
変な感じ。オッケー、読めたわ。
行くぞ、総力戦だ。これで払い切る。
対象の7対3の点を逆転にする。私からは以上です。
行くぞ今です。相手の
これは
準備できてる。
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。
可愛いだけだと思わないことね。勝っちゃう私の。
何これ気持ちまずいな。
なんだこれ。
どうしたの？やばいこっちだ。何これまずいな。
なんだこれ。
どうしたの？
くれる。
やばいこっちだ。何これ気持ちまずいな。
なんだこれ。
何これ。
なんだこれ。くれる。
今ならいけるね。
よっしゃ、いつでもぶちかせて。
領域展開地平エンドだ。
置いてみ、加え。
何これまずいな。
なんだこれ。
何これまずい
なんだこれ。くれる。
何これまずいな。
よっしゃ、いつでもぶちかせて。いつだ、うら食べて。
何これまずいな。
なんだこれ。
どうしたの？やばいこっちだ。何これまずいな。
なんだこれ。くれる。
何これまずいな。
なんだこれ。
どうしたの？
くれる。
やばいこっちじゃないか。今ならいけるね。まずいな。
なんだこれ。
領域展開地平エンドだ。
くれる。
何これ
なんだこれ。
何これまずいな。
なんだこれ。くれる。
何これまずいな。
なんだこれ。くれる。
今ならその人やまずいな。
よっしゃ、いつでもぶちかせて。
どうしたの？やばいこっちだ。どうしたの？始めようかまずいな。
見通しの時間だ。
始めようかまずいな。
相手のことを感謝しろ。
どうしたの？やっぱりこっちだよね。今ならいけるね。やってる。
最善の意図を常に考えろ。授業を始めよう。
領域展開地平エンドだ。
相手のことを感謝しろ。授業を始めよう。
どうしようかな。まずい。
相手のことを感謝しろ。
始めようかまずいな。
相手のことを感謝しろ。
どうしようかな。
相手のことを感謝しろ。教育をする。相手のことを感謝しろ。教育の時間だ。
何これ。
では教育をする。
何これ気持ち悪い。始めようか。さあ行こう。
最善の意図を常に考えろ。
どうしたの？やっぱりこっちだね。
さて、
どうしたの？
いるぞ、この子だ。
やっぱりこっちだね。何これまずい。何これ気持ち悪いまずいな。どうしたの？やっぱりこっちだね。今ならいけるね。まずいな。
最善の意図をでは教育の時間だ。
領域展開地平エンドだ。今その人やつ。
相手のでは教育の時間だ。
領域展開。へえ、弱そう。何これ。手加減はしてあげるよ。
授業を始めよう。
後ろは任せてください。ほらほら、どうしたの？さて楽しくなってきた。
おいでよ。
やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。
最善。
集中するんだ。手加減はしてあげるよ。
では教育の時間だ。
どうしたの？楽しくなってきた。やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。何これ。手加減はしてあげるよ。
では教育の時間だ。
ほらほら、どうしたの？やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。今なら俺でも。今ならいけるね。手加減はしてあげるよ。
授業を始めよう。
主演させて。 ほらほら、どうしたの？
楽しくなってきた。
やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。
可愛くないやつばっかりね。変な感じ。
今ならいけるね。
それじゃおしまいにしようか。
では教育の時間だ
やめたわ。
さて楽しくなってきた。
領域展開。自閉円丼か。
やるじゃん。
相手の隙を見逃すな。
変な感じ。
何これ？気持ち悪。
それじゃおしまいにしようか。
オッケー、読めたわ。
行くぞ総力戦だ。これで払い切る。
術式判定赤。
俺がやりたかったのに。
当たる。
はーい。ま、こんな
全てを奪い尽くせ。相手の動きを観
さて
集中。
相手してやる。
では教育の
皆様
時間だ。
前に集中を。
まずは質より量。
消えろ消えろ。相手の
さて
相手してやる。
授業を始めよう。
このまま払うわ
避。けきれるかな。
消えろ。相手の
集中する。
相手してやる。
授業を始めよう。
皆様前に集中を。
まずは質より量。
消えろ。邪魔をするな。最善。
さて
今なら。
相手してやる。
では教育
まずは
の時間だ。
質より量。
消えろ。結界を全て滅ぼせ。すごい。相手の
我が重力よ。今なら俺でも。
準備万端。こっから
授
よ。
業を始めよう。
呪連素術。
通例情報。
最後まで気は抜くな。
逃がすか。
避けきれるかな。
相手の隙を見逃す。
無謀では相手。
しっかりしろ。
行くわよ。
授業を始めよう。
後ろは任せてください。
まずは質より量。
相手の隙を。
無謀では相手にならないね。
相手してやる。
授業を始めよう。さて
無謀では
集中するんだ。
相手してやる。かかってこいや。
総力戦だ。これで払い切る。
避けきれるかな。
最後の余興。消えろ。妙な。
無謀では
今なら俺でも。
気持ち悪い。
授業を始めよう。
まずは質より量。
邪魔をするな。
無謀で
今なら俺でも。
準備万端。こっからよ。
授業を始めよう。
避けきれるかな。
結界を全て滅ぼせ。最善の一手を常に考える。
無謀では相手にならないね。
今なら
準備万端。こっからよ。
避けきれるかな。
消えろ。邪魔をするな。最善の一手を常に考えろ。
無謀では相手にならないね。
今なら俺でも。
準備万端。こっからよ。
では教育の時間だ。
呪連素術。
通例情報。難しい。逃がすか。
避けきれるかな。
結界を全て滅ぼせ。最善。
無謀では相手にな。
しっかりしろ。
行くわよ。
皆様前に集中を。
まずは質より量。
消えろ。さて
無謀では相手にならない。
しっかりし
相手してやる。かかってこいや。
行くぞ総力戦だ。これで払い切る。
呪霊操術極魔版渦巻き。
行くぞ。
いいね。
これが真の力。結界を全て滅ぼせ。最善。
今なら俺でも。
相手してやる。
では教育
あってい
の時間だ。
られるかな。
消えろ。相手の。
さて
今なら。
準備万端。
で
こっからよ
は教育
まずは
の時間だ。
質より量。
邪魔をするな。 集え
相手の動きを
我が重力よ
今なら俺でも
準備万端
では
こっからよ
教育の時間だ。
主演そうじゃて
通例呪法三月
最後まで気は抜くな。
逃がした